A lot of you correctly identified that my 5-wood, you know, it goes a great distance for me. It kind of flies 255. Do I even need a 3-wood? And I took that feedback very seriously. I think I answered a bunch of you and said, you know, I'm not totally sure if I do need 3-wood. But I kind of wanted to explore the possibility of if that has a space in my bag. One, because, you know, I might start playing some longer golf courses this year, might try to challenge myself. My course at home is great, but it's, you know, it's not a 7,200 yard golf course. So a driver on some holes or a 5-wood on other holes or an iron on a lot of holes is great. And maybe the 3-wood isn't really sort of useful there, but I think there's going to be a lot of golf courses where it may be. So I kind of want to start the process of trying some different stuff. Now, that being said, not everything is in yet for testing, so I'm probably going to do this in a little bit of a, you know, a segmented way, which I think is good. I don't want to come in and hit 6 different fairway woods. I can't be fair, you know, to each fairway wood by hitting that many in one session. So for today, I'm going to start with just 2 that I think are going to be potentially quite a good fit for me. So first, I've got the TSi2 in my hand. It's a 15 degree. I've set it standard to begin with. Why TSi2? I prefer personally a little bit of a shallow face 3-wood. Now, is that going to work with my higher spin profile this year? We'll have to see. But generally speaking, for me, just from a confidence perspective, when I look down at a 3-wood that's very deep face, it tends to make me make a swing that's a little bit kind of shallow and sweepy. Whereas if I see kind of a little shallower face, a bit more loft, to me, I just make a little bit more balanced swing. And the ball flight for me just tends to fly a little bit higher and more neutral, which, you know, a 3-wood needs to be an accuracy club. So I'm going to start with the TSi2. I'm going to get some numbers. I also have the LTDx from Cobra. I've chosen the X, which is the mid model. I haven't gone to the LS. I do have an LS here if I want to test it afterwards, but I'm going to see how the spin profile is. I suspect these 2 will spin in a good window, but as I said, if they spin too much, I have the lower spin models of both, and we can make a quick correction and see how those fly. Actually, a really good feeling hit to start with. I like the look of the flight. Okay, so that carried almost 270 and the face was a little open, so that's actually not a bad looking opener. It's a little better hit. Yeah, I think I like a lot of things about this, but you guys can go back to my video I made with my 5-wood, the ping. So far, we're not going to see enough separation in yardage for this club to be serving much of a purpose. So the numbers, they're not bad at all. The ball speed's pretty good. Spin's a little high, obviously. Launch is a little bit low, and the carry being 261. So my 5-wood, I can comfortably carry 250, and 255 I think was the average from last time. So at the moment, this club is not separating itself enough, and it's probably just due to the launch conditions of the head. It is a little bit higher spin head. So I'm going to make a quick change. I'm going to see if the Cobra for a second try is going to be a little bit different in the launch windows. And then if not, I can move on and try the lower spin versions of both of these clubs. We'll go from there. That's hit really solid. I don't think I can hit that much better. And again, the flight is good, but we're still looking at about 260 carry. That's probably hit even a little bit better, to be honest. Those last couple are about as good as I can hit it. Interesting. So let's quickly look at how that shakes out. The Cobra does sit in a little bit lower spin window, similar speed, slightly higher launch. I think the dispersion is because I think the Cobra sits a bit more upright to my eyes, so it tends to go a little bit further right. I'm not a huge fan of that. But it is their mid model. It's not meant to be sitting flat. So, the launch and spin aren't bad here. And the ball speeds are pretty good. It's just, I'm wondering if I'm really getting a whole lot extra out of, this couple degrees less loft. We're still looking at a club that doesn't go much more than 15 yards further than my 5-wood. But let me check out the lower spin models of these. Certainly the Cobra first, and we'll check that out. And we'll see if it's a viable club. So decided to go a little crazy here. So this is the LTDx, the LS version. Just the lower spin version of the one that I just hit. When you look at it at address, it's not crazy different. I like the profile of this better. It sits a little bit more open, sits a bit flatter. The face does appear to be a bit deeper, but that's probably just a visual kind of trick. It's probably not a whole lot deeper, in actual millimeters. One thing I just wanted to try right off the bat, because I have a feeling this would be a nice fit for me, is it's a 14.5 degree loft to begin with. And as you can see, I can't really get my launch above 11 even with a standard 15. So what I've done is I've actually lofted this up to 15.5, and I have put the 12-gram weight in the toe. So there's a 3-gram weight in the heel, 12 in the toe. So slightly fade biasing the head with the weights. You know, you could argue that I'm slightly drop biasing it with the face angle. To me, the face angle still looks square, but what I'm hoping to achieve with this is something that the loft of the actual club will get the launch up a little bit, but the design of the head will actually keep the spin down, and then the toe weight will keep the flight from overdrawing, keep me kind of neutral down the fairway. But that's the theory anyway. Let's see what it does when I actually smack a couple. Pretty good strike, a little low in the face, which is to be expected, but that looked like it had a little bit more on it. It's hit really well. This is where kind of my concern comes in for the lower spin 3-woods, is that I start to kind of get shots like that. So, I mean, on paper, cool. Like it's great that it went that far, but those are closer to driver numbers than 3-wood numbers. You know, that club is not serving a huge purpose there. I probably towed it a little bit, so I don't want to be unfair to the club, but in terms of kind of the difference between a good strike and a bit of a thin one, I don't want to, you know, have an unexpected 20 yards in there when I was trying to, you know, hit a certain number. That's a much more balanced strike. Yeah, it's definitely a low spin 3-wood. They've achieved what they wanted to do with it. That was really well struck, and I was easily able to get that spin under, what's that, 2,500. No doubt about it, that LS version of the Cobra drops the spin, unfortunately does drop the launch as well. That's a center of gravity thing, it's to be expected. More speed, more carry, but obviously a much lower flight. I think it's, you know, 84 peak height is a little bit low, to be fair. The other two are around 110. I would rather see something right in the middle. So all three of these here they're decent fairway woods. I would say if I only carried, you know, one of the first two, that would be a good fairway wood for my bag. But based on what they offer over my 5-wood, which I find really reliable, not much. So I wouldn't replace it based on those two. So, you know, I'm going to hit a couple quickly with my 5-wood just so you guys can see the same day test. And just kind of explain to you how there isn't a huge benefit for me yet by switching to one of these clubs. Pretty good swing. Left the face a shade open, but certainly don't mind that. Just over 250 carry. It's another good one. It's pretty much exactly on top of the last ball, maybe just carried a couple yards shorter. Strike wasn't quite as good. Yeah, a little better strike there. And one thing I have to say about this club is I don't fear hitting it right whatsoever. I could probably maybe lessen the flat setting, but I really prefer to just aim a little bit down the right side of a fairway and just know that I'm going to hit kind of that straight, slight fade of a shot with this club. It's extremely reliable. And if I turn it, I mean, turn it over is an exaggeration, but if I hit it basically straight, the flight is perfect, carries 255. So you can see why I'm having a hard time saying goodbye to this. You know, is it worth adding a club that goes at best? I'm going to eliminate the LS just because it's not a really functional ball flight. I might as well be hitting driver at that point in terms of the spin and launch. But the two below it there, you can see, is it worth adding an extra club in the bag that goes no more than 8 to 12 yards further, you know, between a 5-wood and a 3-wood, especially when that, you know, that 5-wood for me, I know exactly where it's going to go. I'm very confident in it. It's just a great club, the way it's been set up, the way Ian fit me for it, the shaft that's in there with the Acro shaft. It's awesome. So based on what I'm seeing today, it's funny, you know, going down 2 degrees of loft, you know, into these 3-woods, going with a longer shaft, it's not really benefiting me much in terms of launch conditions. I can get that G425 up in the air so easily in terms of the launch angle as well. You know, if I put it back in my stance, I'm sure I could flight it lower if I need to, but it's just such a functional club that fits a really nice gap. Now, with that being said, those are just a couple 3-woods that I was able to try today. We got a nice selection of Titleist here and the Cobras. I wanted to show you what happened with a lower spin 3-wood, just to show you it's not just a question of getting a lower spin 3-wood. the dynamics of it, the way you strike it, the accuracy. A low spin 3-wood, yeah, sure, it goes further than my 5-wood by 20 yards, but does it give me the same kind of really reliable flight just with 20 yards? No, it adds a lot of kind of, it's much more sensitive club. You can hit that long bullet that turns over, whereas this one's kind of a point and shoot. So a couple brands I've tried so far just because that's what's available. I'm not done with this though, just so you know. So a lot of people ask me, hey, will you try the same 5-wood in the 3-wood model from Ping? Yes, I will. We're just waiting for some more heads to come in, so I'll absolutely will do that. I definitely want to hit some with the new Stealth stuff. I'm not done experimenting, going to try a few more brands. And just really the experiment is to see, like, is a 3-wood going to serve a purpose for me? Or should I just stick with this guy here, this 5-wood that is just so friendly and so reliable to me on, 90% of the golf courses I play? This is a great club to use. Am I better off keeping that and adding, a gap between the 4-iron and this to kind of make that gap smaller? Or am I better off adding an extra wedge on the low part of the bag just to help with my scoring? So these are all things you guys raised, which are great questions. You asked me to try different ones. I'm definitely going to do that. I will definitely try the Ping 3-wood version of this in the LST and the standard and see, if those are a viable option. But just kind of stage 2 of the 3-wood experiment for me. More to come, more videos to come. Let me know if I left anything out that you guys still want to see. I'm happy to do a few more videos on this. I don't need to make my decision yet because it's still pretty cold outside. I've got a few more weeks before I play golf. So let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. And thanks for watching.